The legends were real. The stories were wilder. And now it's time to talk about it. This is Wrestling Real Talk. And now your hosts, A.T. Huck and Rude Boy.
Wrestling Real Talk is right back in this bitch. Right here on the phone with A.T. Huck. My homie, yes he is. Well, all right, I ain't got no more lyrics to raindrops keep falling.
I was trying
head.
not to join in.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Wrestling Real Talk. That's right, it's Wrestling Real Talk. This is your host. You know your host with the most, the one and only, the best on the East and West Coast, man.
Pacific West Coast? That's right.
Pacific West Coast, man. Rude Boy Rudy Hill. That's right. Along with my partner in crime for a long time. I mean, we've been knowing each other a long time. Like when Moses parted the Red Sea, he was on one end, I was on the other. I was like, hey, what up, though? And he
For
was
decades,
like, what up?
for decades. At least neither one of us got drowned. We were able to get out.
Of course, I'm talking about the one and only. You know him as Motor Booty. You know him as.
They don't know me as that. Not on here.
well,
you just broke it.
We have our cruising family on here.
That's true.
They're listening right now. Of course, he is the smooth operator. He is, man, your main squeeze, the one and only A.T. Huck in the house.
Hey, man, you gave him every nickname I have, just about. Some of them we aren't going to disclose. But yeah,
Carlito got a new one for you.
A new one. What was that? What was the new one? We'll save that for a later date.
Yeah.
Hey, man, but I'm so glad to be here.
What did you say? The three-legged monster. Oh my
no.
God. Carlito was blind. He said, I'm blind.
Oh, man, we're not supposed to be talking about that.
Man. Yes, it's true. Anyways, back right here on Wrestling Real Talk, where we try to keep it as real as possible. And a couple things I want to say. One is I want to say, man, I got the fucking coolest son in the world, man. I really do, man. Not only is he one of the co-producers of tonight's show and all of our shows that we do, he's also a pretty good director, and he's a great son, man. You know, I had been feeling down, I ain't been feeling right lately and stuff, you're just getting older and shit like that. And so I had a couple of days where I was kind of down in the dumps and stuff, and my son walked in the house and was like, yo, man, fuck that. We're going to Barry Manilow tonight, man. Right.
I saw your post, man. I was so excited.
Man, it was his farewell show here in the Motor City.
In the D.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, man, for 82 years old, the dude was great, man. And I, look, if you're not into like lavish production for a concert, then this is not for you, because it was a straight up something out of Vegas, right, Carlito?
Tell me this: which song did people pop for the most? I write
the songs.
I write the song.
Weekend in New England, right?
Okay.
Yes, man. When will our eyes meet?
Yeah.
That's a jam, man. Randy. We would say, play Randy.
But that's cool, man. Barry Manilow, his last visit to Detroit, you were able to go check that out?
Yeah, man. And let me tell you guys something out there who's listening. And, look, I'm into all types of music. I love it all. I truly do. And my son, Carlito, and I, this is our second time seeing him. And the thing is that if Barry Manilow comes to your town on this farewell tour, I urge you to go check it out because it truly is really, really good and
you know what?
Spectacular.
You know what? I have a question for you. And I may have asked you this before.
Yes, sir.
As far between wrestling and music, would you say you love them both equally, or do you love one more than the other?
Oh man, I do love one more than the other. I love wrestling more than I love music.
You love wrestling more than music.
I do.
That's saying a lot because you have such a deep love for music.
Right.
You know, I think music encapsulates your day just as much as wrestling.
It does.
And I know it does mine.
It indeed does.
If I'm not watching wrestling, I'm usually watching a music video or listening
brother,
to music.
Brother, what I'm doing with Carlito is jamming out some really cool punk rock.
Mm-hmm,
I mean, hey, let me tell you guys something, man. Manic Hispanic is something you want to check out. Those guys are the shit. Carlito's been turning me on to some of their older stuff. And what we do is we just kick back and we let the TV play wrestling and we listen to jams, man.
The TV's muted. But I'd feel weird hanging out with you without some music playing.
That's true, man.
You know, we always have music going, but we're talking about wrestling.
We are talking about wrestling, and you know, once again, we want to get to know you fans out there, just like you guys are getting to know us.
Right.
So leave us a comment in the comment section or wherever you're listening to this podcast.
Because like I said, sometimes we get off track, but they're learning about us.
Exactly.
As we get off track, we're telling us who we are,
right,
and how we found our love for wrestling. It's not just a one-time thing for us. It's something that's gone on our whole life.
Right.
You know, so our life stories are intertwined with our wrestling stories.
Yeah, I can't imagine my life without wrestling. When I do, I have a fear because it's like the unknown.
What would take its place
music.
At this point in your life? But music's already there.
Yeah, well, music is already there.
There would be a void.
I don't know what if I was never exposed to wrestling. Well, who gives a shit?
Yeah, who cares? But now, if we're gone.
As far as I could remember as a child, Huck, my father taking me to see the Sheik and Furpo and all the, Curry and everybody. Bro, I can't imagine wrestling without my life.
Mm-hmm. Same here. Even though I did go through a late period in high school where I wasn't as interested.
I did too. I would watch chasing
it
girls.
if it was on and I was home, I'd watch it, but I didn't make a point to watch it. And I stopped going to Kobo.
I was chasing girls, but I was trying to find girls like when I go down to Joe Louis and stuff or Kobo, and I'd try to find girls that'd be down there like, man, they like wrestling.
They like wrestling. That's a plus.
Right, that would be cool,
Yeah, but like you said, it's been such a big part of my life since the late 70s.
Yes.
I've told you the story about my sister, rest in peace, introducing me to wrestling.
Absolutely.
So ever since then, and then later on finding out that my father was a reporter for wrestling and boxing, when he was, much younger.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like second generation when that comes up,
Couple things I want to say before we get into our topic tonight. One of the things is I want to shout out a big apology from the last Wrestling Real Talk. For those of you who know me, I'm a very God-fearing man, and I used God's name in vain in the last episode, and I was hoping that it would got edited out, but anyways, it got out there, and I just would like to apologize for that because that's bullshit, man. That's not what I do, man. That's not what I do. like I said, if, whatever your beliefs are, I just knew I had to make peace with that tonight. That's all I had to do.
All
Anyways, now back to the show, which is brought to you by Throwdown Theater. That's right, throwdowntheater.com. You better go there right now and get a t-shirt or maybe artwork, but get yourself something at Throwdown. Damn, man, I just wrote a jingle, dude. Dude, man, I'm the new Luther
Rudy
Vandross,
he has a
bro.
new career, huh? You need to do a Frosted Flakes commercial.
Hey,
or
what was
something.
my man on?
Something that's gonna make some money.
What was my man on 3.5 Men? Charlie Sheen. He was
jingle guy.
He was a jingle guy, man. That's the only similarities me and that cat have. By the way, besides
Luther Vandross.
Besides, we're Mexican.
You, Marty, and Luther.
Man, let me tell you this. And by the way, man, there was a survey out there
Charlie.
that somebody had brought up, and it floated through the offices here at Throwdown Theater. And I said, man, no, let's talk about it on the air because we are Wrestling Real Talk. When someone asked, what are your thoughts on The Rock's daughter? And I had to keep it real. I was like, man, I don't know, man. She ain't very attractive.
Besides that, because I wouldn't say she's unattractive, but I think she is what you would call a nepo hire. Is that what they call it? Where you're only there because of a nepo baby, nepo hire, because she's The Rock's daughter. Because I don't think she's very good.
Well, she looks like her father too.
She does.
Too much.
She does look like The Rock and drag, but no offense. She does. That's why I think she looks like The Rock.
But anyways, man, but look at me. I'm
right.
I'm no
who
fucking.
Who can we?
I'm no fucking Brad Pitt sitting over here.
I know I'm fine as fuck, but oops, got to edit that out.
This is Wrestling Real Talk, by the way.
Hey, I'm A.T. Hunk.
And I'm keeping it real up in the feel-eye.
Yeah, but hey.
Shout out to my boy Howard Stern.
Not trying to hate on her, but just stating what we feel,
No, for real. And you know what? Even some of the females at the office was saying, you know what? She's just not for me, And she did get a hire because of who her father was.
Oh, definitely.
And I get that. I understand that. But back to Wrestling Real Talk. And tonight's topic, or today's topic, whichever time you're listening to this. Are you listening, Huck?
I'm listening.
You and I have been in wrestling for 30 plus years.
Yeah. Collectively, more than that.
Well, 60 something collectively, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you something. We have seen a lot. So tonight we are going to talk about some of the legends that you and I have been in the ring with or even dealt with that was so surreal that and somehow all of the times that I was involved, you were there. But more on that in a second.
Yeah, man, I agree with you, Rudy. And, being in the business so long, we got to, like you said, work with, interact with, be on the same show as some of the greats in history. And of course, I have to definitely go back to my first night where I was in the ring with Bobo Brazil and the Sheik, and that was beyond belief. For some people, that would be like being in the ring with Steve Austin and The Rock.
Right.
Because the Sheik and Bobo Brazil were our top draws.
Yes.
Here in Detroit.
Yes.
And that's all I knew growing up.
Yes.
Was here in Detroit.
Yes.
I didn't know about any wrestling in any other state until I left Michigan and went to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, I did know before then, you know, because of the magazines, but I didn't get to see it on television.
Right.
They weren't my wrestlers. I never got to watch them.
Right.
Outside of big time wrestling. But yeah, Bobo Brazil and the Sheik, you know, won that on that night. And Sweet Daddy Malcolm Monroe, Irish Mickey Doyle. You know, for me, those were like legends.
Yeah.
You know, I watched them on television, you know, and that was just my first night, you know. But also on that same show, and, you know, at that time, it didn't matter that much. Sabu and Rob Van Dam
both of
were
them
there. But they hadn't made their names yet. Definitely Rob hadn't. Sabu hadn't either. Let's not bullshit.
No, he
was still
didn't.
Sabu the
he
Elephant Boy.
Sabu the Elephant Boy. Yes.
You know, so he was, you know, relatively a nobody.
Right.
You know, and Rob Van Dam too. He was just starting out. Maybe a third match, maybe.
Speaking of Sabu, brother Sabu passed away on Mother's Day.
Yes.
There will be a special memorial for him in Lansing, Michigan on June the 21st in Lansing, Michigan. We'll be giving you some more information about that in the description of the show because it's very important that, you know, and it's open to the public. Mm-hmm. It's very important that we honor our brother, Sabu, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm definitely going.
Absolutely.
We'll probably be going together.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah, we'll be rolling together, I'm sure, without a doubt.
Right.
You know, no discussion. But yeah, man, you know, what about you, Rudy? You know, I said my first night, but there were much more. Go ahead.
But, you know, much like your first night, my first night was much similar because as you were refereeing, I was ring announcing. And I was ring announcing the United States heavyweight champion, the madman from Syria. Man, I got to introduce from Benton Harbor, Michigan.
Yes.
So I got
I stood in the ring next to you.
That's Huck. Even on our first venture together, we've always been together.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We've always been
then
together.
It didn't mean anything.
Nope.
You know, we didn't even know each other.
We didn't know each other. Okay.
But years later, man, you know, and after that, from that time on, you know, it was just unbelievable. You know, then, you know, Junkyard Dog for me. You know, I got to referee Sweet Daddy and the Junkyard Dog.
Okay.
You know,
okay. Look. Okay. All right. I know Junkyard Dog was a legend and all of that good shit, but he was also a fucking jerk, bro.
Rudy, I did not know that at that time. Is that when he was a jerk to you that night?
He wasn't a jerk to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was the shit he tried to pull with my boy's wife.
You know, he didn't know that was my wife until as soon as I said it, he straightened up and was like, she was over there. Esther was being a mark. She was marking out talking to Junkyard Dog. And I peeped it. I was like, oh boy, let me go over there. So I went over there and he gave me a funny look at first. And then I was like, oh, this is my wife, you know, and he was like, oh.
Hey,
like that,
speaking of wrestlers hitting on wives, man, me and my ex-wife, we went to Philadelphia one year, just on a weekend. We were just going out there, just her and I. We were getting away. We had babysitters for Carlito and for Savannah, and so we were good. So we took the drive to Philly, and hey, look, it just so happens, man, there's wrestling in town, so of course we're gonna go check it out. So we go check it out, and you know, it's at the ECW arena. We go backstage. We're invited backstage from Sabu, and Nozawa was there as well. and a couple other guys that have friends. But anyways, man, the moment we got in that dressing room, man, a drunken Bam Bam Bigelow was all over my wife. like hands on all over. Yeah, I was like, brother, hey, this is my wife. He was like, oh, so sorry. Then he grabbed her hand. He was like, but you're so beautiful. I was like, brother, I mean, what the
Bam, the beast from the east.
Right, the beast from the east. What the fuck are you doing, bro? But you know,
did you at the time? Did you think it was funny?
I laughed.
You thought it was funny.
You know, I thought it was, but he was just like, he was all over. It was funny, and so shout out to rest in peace, Bam Bam Bigelow. But yes, aside from that, you know, rubbing shoulders. You said with Junkyard Dog and Sweet Daddy in that match, that had to take you back to the old Mid-South days. Here's the Junkyard Dog.
Yeah, man. And, you know, at that time, he was still in pretty good shape. It was, you know, not long after he got released from the WWE, I believe, you know, or maybe in WCW. I'm not quite sure because it was in the mid-90s.
Might have been WCW.
You know, that happened. Maybe WCW, but he still was very impressive and could move. And it was funny, and I got to call him out because I was so mad. Sweet Daddy, for the whole match, sat outside the ring.
Oh.
And Chris the Fly took all the bumps. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Man, I was so mad. And after that, that's when I was like, Malcolm, if you don't want to wrestle, man, let's get a new champion. You know what I mean? Because I would have been upset as a fan, expecting to see Malcolm versus the Junkyard Dog. And then Malcolm did one of his crazy things and just sat in the bleachers. I think he took maybe a couple punches and one bump and then rolled out, and Chris hit the ring on the Junkyard Dog and took all the big bumps.
Well.
But that's a true story. True story, man. This is Wrestling Real Talk.
Hey. I've seen that a couple times.
Yeah, man. You know what I'm talking about. It was funny in a battle royal in Lima. Malcolm threw the whole battle royal, stayed on the ring apron. The entire battle royal. But funny, go ahead, man.
That's funny.
What was that? The Junkyard Dog? What about you?
Well, for me, you know, it was early when we was training, me and Violent J, when we got to go train with Al Costello. And Al Costello invited me to WrestleRama 88. And he said, I want you to be me and Don Kent's flag bearer. You're going to come out with we're going to put the whole gimmick, the whole kangaroo gimmick.
I don't mean to mess you up, but you said WrestleRama 88?
Yes.
But you trained later.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I just wanted to get. I was like, he trained in '88.
No. This is just meeting him,
backtracking,
so I could, so I could, get information and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, and he was a great guy, you know. So, anyways, so he said, "You want to do this?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely," you know. And he was all, gung ho about it and stuff because. Maybe he thought I had money or something. It's okay, man, because
at the Penobscot building?
It was at the Book Cadillac.
The Book Cadillac.
The Book Cadillac, 4th floor. Dave St. Ange was there. Jihad Saad was there, and they were the ones doing most of the instructing, and doing the bumps and stuff. But he was there. You go behind, switch.
He was training like the Sheik.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, so he invited me to be the flag bearer, like Rip Morgan was for the sheep herders. Mm-hmm. And I was honored by that.
And for those who don't know, that was the Fabulous Kangaroos.
The Fabulous Kangaroos. Okay. Don Kent and Mr. Al Costello and Rude Boy was right there in the mix. And from that moment on, I I felt like it felt right to be a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
This feels right. And I'm glad that all those years later, we just pursued our dreams, man.
Yeah.
You didn't know you were going to be involved in wrestling. You told me that a million times.
It was just by chance. It was by chance. I didn't have any aspirations as a young boy or teenager or young adult about being in wrestling, not until the late 80s when I met Frantic Frank. And we started taping wrestling, and I'd been taping before, but we wanted to show wrestling.
Was you a tape trader?
I never traded.
No.
These are just for me. All these tapes were just for me. People would give me tapes.
Right.
But I never tried to get,
I'll
trade you this for that. No.
I got you.
No. But man, another guy I remember that was kind of surreal to be in the ring with was the Missing Link.
You were with the Missing Link?
Yeah, for Midwest Territorial. It may have been Missing Link versus Bastion Booger.
Yes.
Something like that. But seeing the Missing Link
fuck him too.
walking towards the ring,
I said
it was just like such a throwback. And damn, this is the Missing Link. I can't believe it. So that was interesting. And he was doing all the same thing. I actually just watched a documentary about the Missing Link, just last night. Dewey Robertson.
Right. He was from Windsor, right? Or
no, Ottawa or somewhere like that. Yeah.
I thought it was
a little further
right
north.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but he was a mainstay here in Detroit for a while. As Dewey Robinson. Right. Or the Avenger, I believe.
That was for
under a
big
mask
time.
For big time wrestling. And then, when the Missing Link popped up, I didn't know it was Dewey Robinson until I read it somewhere because he looked totally different.
Right.
One of those transformations that was like, what the hell?
Right.
Kind of like, for me, maybe not as much, but Scott Hall, when he, went from being the Diamond Stud to Razor Ramon. They were the same but different.
Different, right?
Yeah, they were
different.
Different swag to them.
Oh, man, because Scott Hall, that whole transformation.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Whoa.
What was he? Starship Coyote,
right? And then they had him looking like Magnum,
right? Big mustache.
Come on, brother.
But yeah, we got to hang a bit with Scott Hall.
Oh yeah,
much later, but yeah, he's another one. And man, just Ivan Koloff.
Ivan, man.
I got the referee Ivan Koloff, Kevin
on
Sullivan.
Joe Lake show.
Yes, Joe Lake.
The infamous Joe Lake show. So fans, if you're listening, I'm going to tell you a little story about the infamous Joe Lake. Joe Lake was a guy here in the Motor City it was probably the early 90s.
Early 90s.
Early to mid 90s. Okay. And he had aspirations of being a wrestling. He wanted to wrestle, but he was the holy hell shits, and he had no athletic background or anything, and it just didn't work out for him. So he wanted to become a manager. So somebody let him be a manager somewhere down the line. Anyways, so then he decided, I want to be a promoter. And he got aligned with Sabu.
Mm-hmm.
And Sabu put his neck on the line for this guy. And this guy did 2 shows. 2 shows.
Back to back.
Yep. The first show did well. Mm-hmm. It did real well. And it was Sabu against Taz. Oh, no, it was Sabu against Chris Candido. And it was Taz against Van Dam. And
well, you know what? He had 2 shows at that same location,
right?
But then he had a 3rd show.
But so the show I'm talking about, Taz was still in the Fred Flintstone outfit. Mm-hmm. Going back that far, fans. So, anyways, the guy, he had a little success on a couple shows, whatever. So then he decides, I'm going to do the WrestleMania of independent shows. Now, let me tell you something. You can look this up anywhere, anytime. This guy had a who's who of the wrestling industry.
He really did.
I'm going to rattle off just a few of the names I remember. Ivan Koloff, Jim Neidhart, Medusa,
Kevin Sullivan.
Kevin Sullivan,
The Barbarian.
Who else was on it?
Man, it was just
Van
loaded.
Dam.
It was like Horace Boulder on there.
Yes, Horace Boulder. A lot of Sabu's friends.
Yeah, a lot of
you know.
Sabu's friends, yeah.
Candido and
Woman.
yes, Woman was on it.
Mhm.
Yes.
Nancy.
Rest in peace, Nancy Sullivan.
It was loaded, to say the least.
It was just, I mean, he had Papa Shango on it.
Yeah,
Papa Shango was on it.
that's right.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan was on it. So anyways, all of the sudden, dun dun dun, the house doesn't draw the way this man needs it to draw.
No way. Even though it was a decent amount of people.
It was a decent amount of people, but brother,
His
that payroll was
outrageous.
astronomical back then.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, allegedly, well, I'm not going to say allegedly. He took the money and ran.
Yeah, I was about to say that. There ain't no allegedly. I was there.
Right,
That dude dipped.
He dipped with
He
the money
dipped.
that was there and was gone.
Gone.
Now, these wrestlers were so pissed that Medusa, along with Jim Neidhart, stayed here in Detroit
Looking
for
for him.
extra 4 days looking for him because they wanted to kick his ass and get their money. So what did they do? They finished the show, took the money from the concession, which was nothing, and paid a couple people what they could.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
But then there was a show the next night where instead of shutting the show down, all the boys went there and ran the show.
oh, really?
Yeah, I forgot Jackson or somewhere west.
Uh-huh.
Kalamazoo. I can't remember where it was, Rudy,
Okay.
but I was there. And that night I got into it a little bit with Jim Neidhart because the show did make money, but they wanted to keep all the money from themselves
Right.
and not pay the refs, and some of the local boys didn't want to pay them nothing.
Oh, that's
They
bullshit.
feel that because they got screwed on the last show that they should take all the money.
Right.
But what makes you any different than Al Snow and us that live here?
Mhm.
You know, we work too. And then the state was there, and I had to pay for a state license.
Oh, shit.
But the state makes sure that the doctor got paid,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't make sure that the refs got paid.
Mm.
So I pitched a little bit to the state about that.
Mhm.
I'm a state licensed referee. You made sure this guy who didn't do nothing
Right.
get paid,
Right.
but you can't make sure your state licensed
Who's
referees,
been in that ring all night?
yeah, get paid.
Right.
And
no
they
doubt.
made money.
No doubt.
You know, so I went to Jim Neidhart. I was like, you know, I expect to get paid. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and he didn't want to pay me nothing. And you know who stepped up? And not that I wanted him to do it, but Hercules.
Hernandez. Wow.
Hercules went in his pocket and gave me some money.
What?
And looking back, I should have said, no, you keep it. It shouldn't come from you.
Right.
You know, it should come from
right.
the pot.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, but
What
the
a
fact that he did
gentleman,
that-
man.
Yeah,
Wow.
you know, because he knew I was right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Didn't pitch no bitch, and Neidhart was trying to pitch a bitch.
Right.
Said, well, you guys live around here. I was like, so?
What does that matter?
Yeah.
So you should too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you should.
We work just like you did.
Exactly.
But the state, didn't look out for me either.
Right.
So I didn't want to, ever get a license again after that.
Right.
What's the point?
Right. Right. They're not looking out for you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I see that all day.
Right. Especially back then, because they had to appoint the referees.
Right.
You didn't just show up and say I'm a ref. Back then, they had to go to the state and request me.
No shit.
Yeah, that's how it worked back then.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Learn something every day right here on Wrestling Real Talk.
Yeah. But anyway, getting back to that was a whole slew of people right there,
dude,
that we were involved with, because I refereed several of those matches. Now, going back to Joe Lake, he was there the night that I first trained. Joe Lake and Joe C. They were there. But during the show, Joe Lake was the first show. Maybe it was that night. He was trying to get away from the Warlord and the Barbarian because they were going to F him up, because they knew that they weren't going to get paid. And he was trying to back out. I think he was like the manager. He was trying to back out. But I grabbed him from behind.
Oh.
Because he kind of made me mad,
Right.
So I was like, he's not getting away from them.
Right.
Even though I was the ref.
Right.
I grabbed him, and then they got him, and he got waffled with a chair. I think Hercules.
Ooh.
Just waffled him.
Ooh. Man. Good
Crazy
times.
Stories, man. Crazy
times,
stories.
Man. But yeah, man, just the craziest shit, being around so many, of legends.
Yeah, and then
true legends.
When I was in ECW, I didn't think about it the same way as I thought about, being in the ring with Sullivan and Hercules and all of them. But looking back now,
yes,
definitely,
yes,
everybody in ECW,
oh yeah,
was should be considered in that light.
Hey, who was your favorite that you worked with in ECW? I've never asked you that. I never have.
Well, I always liked refereeing Sabu's matches, because he interacted with me a lot during his matches, diving at my legs.
Right.
He kept me moving.
Right.
And he knew that I, would work with him on it.
Absolutely.
Man, he's, slam my heads into tables
Mhm.
just right there on the spot.
Right.
Because I would tell him,
Right.
because I was blocking him from doing something.
Right.
And he would say, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
And I said, fuck me up. And then he just went at me, and he knew what he could do with me.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed his matches. Rob Van Dam's, of course. And not trying to be partial, but they were definitely standouts in ECW, whether I knew them or not.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed Rob's matches. My first night in ECW, man, it was a great match. It was Jerry Lynn and Mikey Whipwreck. Yeah, Jerry Lynn and Mikey Whipwreck, and they tore it up.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. That was a fast-paced match.
I could see that all day with those two.
Mm-hmm.
I really can.
Yeah, and then, I did a lot of three-way dances with Tajiri, Little Guido, and Super Crazy.
Really?
Yeah, those are some of my favorite matches, man. I have yet to see people do a three-way dance as good as those three.
Really?
Yeah, there was just synchronicity. Not a whole lot of dead time where two guys are working in the ring.
Right.
And the guy's laying out there for 3 minutes.
Right.
And
right.
then all of a sudden he recovers. No,
Right.
it was just constant three-way back and forth.
Oh, wow.
Just amazing. I did that in Milwaukee. So yeah, I like working with those guys.
Shout out to Keyworth Stadium. That's right. We are coming. International Big Time Wrestling on Friday, July the 18th.
That's right.
And that's going down at 5 p.m. And that is a part of the big, man, Huck, Huck, tell them about it, man. What
it's a soccer
we've
stadium.
seen from it was amazing.
You know, and when I walked in there, I was just breathtaking, you know, because I saw this big arena and all of those people filled in there. And I was like, man, is that where we're going to be in this stadium? Look at that. I felt like I was walking into Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
You know, about to referee Carlos Colon and Bruiser Brody.
Right.
That's the feel I got from this stadium.
Right.
And I'm so much looking forward to it, man. I know we're going to turn it up.
Hitting drums.
Yeah,
and
just the whole
live
vibe. The only thing I didn't like was that smoke.
Well,
that's one night I didn't want to take the smoke.
You didn't mind tonight.
We got the master blunt roller to my left over here.
Hey, man.
But anyway, here we go. Man, but the stadium is awesome. All the food trucks, just the entire vibe.
Keyworth Stadium in Hamtramck, Michigan.
Yeah, man, we can't wait. That's July the 18th.
Yes, so make sure you are there or be square. Anyways, back to the show. The final guy that I want to say, well, because I could go on.
We could do this forever. There's so many.
We really could. One of the final guys that I want to say that I thought, you know, wow, this is fucking crazy, man. You know, I'm working with this guy. And that was Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Greg Valentine. I thought you were going to say someone else, but go ahead.
Man, Greg the Hammer Valentine. And the first thing that Psychopathic Sports booked me in for JCW against Greg Valentine was dog collar match.
Yes.
So, you know, the only thing I kept thinking of was Piper, and you know,
couldn't believe it. I ref that.
I know
so
you. Once again, here you are.
As a matter
part
of fact,
all
I have
of
some pictures that I have to pick up of that match.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I scanned one, but they've been holding them for me at the comic shop.
Okay.
Yeah, they called me and said, "Hey, Huck, we got all these pictures of this chain match with Rude Boy and Greg Valentine." You know, and I'm there. You know, so I got to pick them up.
We'll be posting those pictures. I promise you guys, man. We will post those pictures.
But you know who I thought you were going to say? Terry Funk.
Oh, well, Terry Funk, Dusty Rhodes. You know, Kamala. Honky Tonk Man.
Just so many. And think about all the stars at the Gathering.
Dude,
that you had to interact with and work
guys
with.
That I got to work with, Kevin Sullivan, you know, the Headhunters, and you know, I mean,
crazy.
You did the late
Sid, Psycho Sid,
the late great Tracy Smothers.
Smothers.
I had a feud with that guy. That was great, man. I loved it.
Didn't you team with him after that? Did you team with him?
We never teamed.
No.
Nope. Oh, we had some battles, though, I'll tell you that, man. They were really nice at the Gathering. Shout out to
Is that the one where he
Tracy.
burned the Mexican flag?
No, it was when I burned his Confederate
That's
flag.
That's right.
Because it was a flag match.
Yeah.
And Carlito got me a custom-made Mexican flag with the Hatchet Man on it. Sweet. Shout out to all the juggalos out there listening right here on Wrestling Real Talk, Wade. You know we got love, baby. We miss you. But back to what I was saying. So we had I had this custom made flag. It was so dope. And Tracy had his Confederate flag, and I was like, well, where's the lighter fluid?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, the lighter fluid is right in that corner. And I looked at Tracy and I said, you know what we got to do, right? And he was like, well, hell, Rude Boy, we got to steal the show.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And we had a great match. One of those matches where I was happy that I was... Because at the Gathering, you know, it's a party, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I was happy that I was sober during that match. You know, we had a good match. Like, I didn't blow up right away, and you know, it was good. It was really good, and I was over, and man, I missed that guy. He was a good dude. He worked for International Big Time Wrestling a lot, and I miss him, man.
Funny story about Tracy, man. After a while, he started tying his flag to a tree branch instead of on a pole. Or whatever he used to bring it out with, and he was working with DBA, and went to hit him with the flag. You know, usually it's not on a tree branch.
Right.
Instead of, you know, hitting the mat, he like walloped him with this thick ass tree branch with the flag on it, and DBA's arm just automatically just went.
Oh no way!
He couldn't make it through the match barely.
Was it broken?
You know what? I don't remember exactly, but I just remember how injured it was that night.
Oh man!
You know, but hit him with that tree branch.
That's terrible.
Oh, but he did as much as he could. You know, in that match. Could you imagine starting right off and you get hit right in the elbow with a tree branch?
No doubt. Huck, tell us your final. Like I said, as many of those great legends that you've rubbed elbows with and shared rings with.
Oh my goodness. We just mentioned him, you know, Terry Funk, you know, did a Texas death match with him with Sabu. You know, I just saw it online. It popped up, you know, I guess, you know, because of Sabu's, you know, passing, people are reposting so much.
Sure.
But it did a Texas death match with him. And also, you know, a great referee after that, Terry Funk and Dusty Rhodes.
Those
and
amazing.
Terry Funk was one of the nicest guys I've ever met in pro wrestling. Yeah. Just down to earth and cool, you know, and not one of those guys where you say you hate to meet your idols.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, I was very happy to meet Terry Funk and him to be the way that he was.
Right.
Same with the Sheik.
He didn't let you down.
Same with the Sheik.
There you go.
The Sheik was, you know, I didn't know what to expect, but the Sheik opened his arms to me, befriended, you know.
Yeah.
Man, it's unbelievable.
It
you know, same with you.
Yeah.
You know, but this is the Sheik.
Right.
Where you listeners, you have to know the stories about how the Sheik was behind the scenes.
My God.
And how he played his gimmick throughout his life.
Yes.
But for me and my friend right here, my brother right here, he opened his arms and his heart to us.
Yes.
And treated us like he knew us for years.
It's true.
And contrary to other people's stories.
Right. True that.
So I might have to end it right there. You know what I mean?
I hear you, my brother. So check this out. Don't forget to join us on July the 18th. That's the next IBW show. We'll be giving you more information about that because that's going down. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. Also, don't forget to visit Taqueria El Rey right there on Bagley in the heart of Mexican town, Southwest Detroit. The best chicken, the best pollo in town, guaranteed, man. It just.
What do I call it? I said succulent. Succulent chicken.
So go over there and visit Danny and the crew over there. And don't forget, we'll be back next week right here, same time, same station. Shout out to our engineer, Bobby Rocks. Shout out to our sound guy and producer, Carlito Hill. Shout out to Santana, who is guiding the ship tonight. We are Throwdown Theater. We are Wrestling Real Talk. Any final words, Mr. Huck?
Hey, man, just looking forward to all the shows that are coming up. It's going to be a hot summer in the IBW. Can't wait, man. Looking forward to it. Besides that, I'll see you all next week. or talk to you all next week. I won't see you.
That's right. Make sure that you comment, subscribe, and tell a friend about this. It really helps us out a lot, and it lets us know someone's listening. Okay, so check this out. We're not here for a long time, damn it. You know we're not here for a long time. But we are here for a good time. Be good to one another. Take care of one another. Until next week, peace and love from God above.
Peace.